Someone in my YouTube comments yesterday asked me, what is so bad about this budget bill? Now, they were a Republican, and I understand that they're not hearing anything from Fox News, and they're definitely not hearing anything from Trump's failing social media platform, Truth Social, that explains to them what is in this budget bill, why it is so devastating, not only for Americans on Medicaid, not only for little children who need SNAP, but why it's a real bad scene for all Americans. Now, Senator Angus King from Maine is an independent. He caucuses with the Democrats. I don't always agree with the way he votes and his strategies, that's for sure, but he had a really thoughtful, accurate analysis of what's in this bill, and I want to share it with you.
I don't understand this obsession with taking health insurance away from people. I don't get it. Trying to take away the Affordable Care Act in 2017 or 2018, and now this. What's driving this? What's the cruelty to do this? To take health insurance away from people, knowing that it's going to cost them. It's hard to calculate the cost up to and including losing their lives. Okay, let's talk about SNAP. Let's talk about SNAP. The average benefit for SNAP is $6 a day. You feed yourself on $6 a day. The average cost of a meal in the U.S. is about $10.50 a day. So we're already below cost, if you will. And here's what it means in my state. 20% of the children in my state are food insecure. And we're talking about cutting SNAP and taking dollars away from those kids. And I was interested in that, and I thought, oh, that's pretty bad. I'm worried Maine's 20%. 20% of our kids are food insecure. So I did a little research. In Arkansas, it's 24% of the kids who are food insecure. In Iowa, 17%. South Carolina, 14%. Michigan, 19%. Missouri, another 19%. That's 1 out of 5 kids are food insecure, and we're going to cut that food in order to give a millionaire a $32,000 tax cut. Mr. President, that's not only bad policy, it's downright immoral. Okay, what's the other problem with this bill? There's so many, and so many problems, so little time. It's irresponsible. It adds about $4 trillion to the deficit. And by the way, this current policy thing doesn't pass a straight face test. A 7th grader knows it's nonsense. You got to borrow the money to pay. If this bill doesn't pass, then there isn't a $4 trillion hit on the budget. If it passes, there is. And the thing that really gives a lie to this nonsense is also in this bill is a $5 trillion increase in the debt ceiling. If it's not really debt, then we don't need to increase the debt ceiling. It's a sham. Voodoo budgeting. So, I don't want to hear any more from my colleagues about deficits. I don't want to hear any more crocodile tears about deficits. We're mortgaging our future. I hear all this drama about deficits from people who are voting for this bill to add $4 trillion to the deficit unnecessarily. There's a saying of a famous New Englander, your actions speak so loud I can't hear your words. Your actions speak so loud I can't hear your words. Your actions are, you're adding to the deficit unnecessarily. So don't talk to me about deficits. Now, the first rule, if you're in a hole, is stop digging. And we're in a hole, Mr. President. We're in a hole, so you stop digging by not passing this bill or not passing it in the extreme form that it is to give the tax benefits, 60% of the tax benefits to people making over $400,000 a year. The reason, what's driven the deficit, if you go back and look over the last 20 years, there are 3 things. One were the unpaid for Bush tax cuts. We had major tax cuts and then a war that we put on the credit card. The unpaid for Trump tax cuts in 2017 and COVID. Now, COVID was an emergency. And the financial crisis in 2008 and 9 and 10. That were emergencies. That's where you run deficits. But you don't run deficits when times are good, and that's exactly what we're doing here. If you're in a hole, stop digging. And by the way, the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, a nonpartisan group, has said, and I haven't heard this mentioned, this bill will actually accelerate the insolvency of the Social Security Trust Fund and the Medicare Trust Fund. There's a nice thing for you. It'll make those funds go insolvent sooner than would otherwise be the case. Gutting the IRS. By the way, I have another suggestion for my colleagues. You want to find $600 billion a year? Enforce the tax laws against cheaters. That's the estimate. $600 billion a year is left on the table because cheaters, mostly high income, are not paying the taxes they owe. The poor stiff that gets a 1040, he has to pay it. Everybody knows what he's making. But it's these people with the fancy lawyers and accountants, and I'm not talking about tax avoidance here. I'm talking about stone cold tax evasion. $600 billion a year. That would be nice instead of cutting Medicare and Medicaid and food stamps. Another piece of this bill that hasn't got much attention is ICE. The current budget of ICE is $9 billion a year. Under this, they're increasing it $75 billion over 4 years. That's an additional $18 billion a year. They're tripling the budget of ICE. They're tripling the budget. We're dangerously close, Mr. President, to creating a federal police force, which we've never had in this country and we shouldn't have. And by the way, I have never in my life seen a law enforcement officer with a mask on. I don't get where that came from. A law enforcement officer wearing a mask. Where I come from, people that wear masks are not the good guys. And I don't understand that, but to triple this budget, where that's going to take this country.
Thank you, Senator King. That's a really good breakdown of most of the significant ways that this bill is devastating for all of us. It is going to tank the economy. It's going to balloon our debt. It's going to take healthcare away from 17 million Americans. It's going to leave little children hungry when we already live in a nation where 1 in 4 children go hungry on a regular basis. And yet we have billionaires who are hoarding more wealth than they could spend in 10 lifetimes, living in complete opulence and extravagance. I just did a video about Oprah Winfrey and Leonardo DiCaprio and all of the other super rich celebrities going to Jeff Bezos' $55 million wedding. And yet 1 in 4 children in the wealthiest nation on earth are food insecure. They want to expand ICE's budget by tens of billions of dollars a year. They have money for raids, but not for Medicaid. They have money to terrorize our communities. They have billions of dollars to pump into private for-profit corporations like CoreCivic and Geo Group to run these concentration camp facilities. But they don't have money for health care for American citizens. The party of fiscal responsibility, who is always flipping the fuck out over the idea of expanding the debt, is going to expand it more than $4 trillion to give tax cuts to the super rich. And Senator King has a really good point there. If you want to fund Medicaid, just collect the taxes that the super rich owe and they're not paying, because it's hundreds of billions of dollars. According to the IRS in 2022, there were $696 billion in uncollected taxes. Most of that money was owed by the wealthiest Americans. And yet the Republicans are firing a bunch of IRS workers and are making sure that they don't enforce tax collection on Donald Trump's friends, on the super rich. There's more than enough wealth to go around in this country. There's more than enough for us all to have a good quality of life. If people just paid the taxes they already owed, we don't even need to increase them. If the rich just paid the taxes that they owed. We don't need to balloon the debt. We don't need to deprive tens of millions of Americans of health care. This bill is entirely unnecessary. It's cruel, it's chaotic, it's nonsensical. It's bad for the American people. It's bad for our economy. It's bad for our future. It's extremely un-American. This version of the bill that passed the Senate now goes back to the House for consideration, and it has to go before another vote. So please call your representatives. Whether they are Republican or Democrat, call. There needs to be vocal, consistent opposition from the electorate. Please call.